Item 1, to receive and accept apologies for absence. Jane?
Tony Bridges.
Item 2, to note declaration of members' personal, prejudicial and disclosable pecuniary interests in respect of items on the agenda. Are there any? No. Item 3, minutes. 3.1, to confirm that the minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of 25 are a true and accurate record. All agreed?
Haven't checked them yet, my name.
I have changed it on the one that's to be signed, so
Thank
apologies.
you.
Okay. Right, thank you. 3.2, to receive an update on items from the previous meeting, if not agenda items for this meeting.
We have put an application in for Love Your Market Town. The EMO has applied for funding for a hair trail, so we have to wait to see how that goes. Heritage Park, a few of us met on site, and we'll now progress what can we do as the developers say they are off the alternative community land area, so we can progress works there. Allotment open day was quite successful, I think. That was a good day, and we hope we'll do it again. And the lease for the industrial unit at Threexton Park has been signed for another 6 years.
Thank you, Jane. Item 4, to receive reports. 4.1, Chairman's report. I attended on the 15th of August, VJ Day beacon lighting at the Lock. 17th, VJ Day service at Chaston Place. 17th, Judging Watton in Bloom. 19th, the Family Fun Day. 20th, the police meeting in the council offices. 24th, bikes on the high street. Got to just say that I'd like to thank everybody who was involved in that for all the hard work and effort that they put in to actually organising such a highly successful event. Many people said to me during the course of the day how big it's got and how much it was enjoyed by many members of the community. So well done to everybody that was involved. If you could note that one for me, please, Jane. On the 25th, I attended the RAF Cadets Barbecue. That's the lot for now. 4.2, Vice Chairman's report. Tina.
Sorry guys, I've got to read this out today because I did send it, but it didn't come through. My technology skills. Jack, I need an update on how to do that sort of thing, please. Anyway, I'm going to read it out. This will be my district council one as well, amalgamated. I have spent a lot of time these last few weeks gathering the evidence needed for this council to form an educated decision re the safer street wardens. Sorry to bring that up again. I have spoken to the police and to officers at Breckland. The public have been consulted too. The consensus of opinion is that we all want and need more police. But, and it is a big but, there is no money under this current government to facilitate this need. Only when we get a new leading party in central office will things change. So what are we to do in the meantime? Moan and groan? No, we have on the table a sticking plaster that will cost this council 10k. It is not going to break the bank. In fact, this is the exact figure of 1 year's interest on one of our bank accounts. So in effect, we have the money there ready for this venture without even looking for it. Watton needs us to look after Watton and to focus on the important issues. This is a report. This is my report, Stan. We need to listen to the public that we represent. The clerk and I have gathered as much information as is possible for your perusal, and we can only hope you look at it with your common sense heads on. I covered for the mayor at the allotment opening, and I can honestly say that it was a resounding success. The prison service were there and gave a comprehensive report on the reasons why they want to engage with the town on a more visible level. And I can say I was truly heartened by their motives for engagement. Giving the inmates a job in producing items made in their workshops is giving the inmates life skills and pride in what they make. It also bridges a gap and dispels the myths associated by prison life. The honey for sale in the office has come from the beehives they have in their gardens. The flowers presented on the day come from the same garden, and also the vegetables and fruit. It was really inspiring. I spoke with the guy in charge of carpentry and asked if he could make something with his team for the Bridle Road project, and he said straight away yes, and he will be getting in touch with the office to further this project. We were told that if we needed anything else, just to let them know and they would help in any way they could. I think this is the start of a great alliance between us and one of our biggest employers and facilities in the town. I have shared with the clerk all things that have come from Breckland refunding streams, etc., and updates of devolution. And other than individual casework that due to confidentiality I can't speak of, it has been quite a busy few weeks. That's it from me.
4.3 District Councillors Report. Just done. Keith.
I have nothing to report really. I sat on a licensing panel for 2 taxi drivers, which I've done before. It's very interesting. And I was sat on the planning committee at the beginning of the month as the substitute member. So that's about it.
Thank you, Kate. County Councillors Report. Claire, would you like to come forward?
Really, all I just wanted to raise this meeting, similarly to Tina, is that I note the 2 particular items that you're going to be discussing later on the agenda, which is the possible removal of the benches outside Adcock's, and to consider engaging with the Breckland Safer Street Warden scheme. So I really hope Council gives serious further consideration to joining the Street Warden scheme. I think the fact that you're talking about removing the benches outside Adcock's is just one example of exactly why the street wardens are needed in Watton. And I would urge councillors, when it comes to your discussion, not to rush to remove the benches, which will be the loss of an amenity to the high street, in fact, but to engage with the warden scheme in order that the perpetrators of antisocial behaviour in that area are targeted and dealt with by the wardens, therefore freeing up the benches for the purpose that they're there for. Also, I just want to say that it was brought to my attention that some businesses in the town were being advised incorrectly by, and I believe, sadly, 1 or 2 members of this council, that Breckland are no longer putting finance towards the warden scheme, and that if they're needed in another town, wardens will be pulled out of Watton. So I've clarified with the cabinet member who oversees that area that neither of those suggestions are true, just to advise you of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. 4.5 Clerk's Report.
As in your packs, don't think I've got anything more to add to that, other than we have had the audit returned this afternoon. No issues there, so we will be posting that as concluded for this year.
Thank you. 4.6 Reports from lead councillors. Stan? Yeah, I think he's down there.
Being lead of the market, that is, I've just seen it's actually an item, so I'll mention it.
Okay. Item 5, reports from, to note the works in progress list. Do we have any comments on those, or is there anything further, Jane?
Unless anyone's got anything that they want to sort of point out to us.
Any
Take
comments?
a look at.
Okay, so we go on to item 6, public participation. Do we have, yeah? Paul?
Thank you. May I just echo the Mayor's thanks for the bike weekend, particularly Sunday. It was tremendous to see the high street so full. If only we could do that all the time. But no,
The bus company might object.
I wouldn't. That's right. But no, a great effort, and seemed to have gone down really, really well. I think bigger and better than even last year. So thank you. I'm here because I found out by accident a few weeks back that the safer street wardens were not intended to be pursued in Watton. We had some rowdy members of our high street drinking club, as I called them, outside on the bench by the shop. And I said in passing to somebody, what a shame that the street wardens weren't patrolling today. And I appreciate that they're not there all the time. And was told that, well, unfortunately, I'm not going to see them anymore because of the decision that had been made. So I was a little shocked. So I thought I would just see from other business people what their thoughts were. So I sent an open letter. I didn't go public with it. It was just other traders in the high street. If you haven't seen the letter I sent out, it's not very long. I'll gladly read it out if you wish. But if you've all seen it, then
it has been emailed around.
It has, right?
Yeah.
In that case, I shan't worry. So fine, good. But we had 18 letters of support back from other members of the high street business community, saying that they would very much like, if at all possible, that the street wardens could remain. And given that the council, Breckland, are doing things to try and improve the high street, one of the biggest issues that we face is that the people's perception of antisocial behaviour, and it's not a massive problem, let's put it into perspective, but it is an issue, and it's the kind of issue that potentially puts people off from coming down the high street, particularly our elderly residents, and that kind of thing. So we had seen the street wardens in action. The bench outside the shop is quite a popular gathering place for them at times, not all the time. So, you know, and they work. They're good. They're good with the people, and they remove the drinks off them. And it's a first-tier level of authority that when here, does appear to have some effect. I appreciate they're not policemen. It'd be lovely to see policemen. We all know the pressures of the police historically, and somebody said it's better to have them available to look after a major crime than patrolling the high street, as nice and as reassuring as it looks. So I appreciate this is a halfway house. I do appreciate it comes with cost, but we feel that given that the requirement and the necessity to market the high street, it's a cost that's worthwhile, particularly as there appears to be, fingers crossed and touch wood, a bit of good news on the high street with Boots. We believe there's some activity there that it might soon be taken, and the butchers across the way from us, we believe, might be taken. So, you know, hopefully things are a little bit on the up. So just to have a little bit of low-level intermittent authority in there, just we think would be a good idea.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Obviously, we need to cut you short.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for those views and your time.
No problem. Do you need the copies of the letters for your records or
Yeah.
anything?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
Okay, do we have any other members of the public who would like to speak? Yes, sir, would you like to come forward?
So I'll be asking more questions to give answers. Yeah, sure. No, how's that? Okay. My name's Brian Dingwall, and I live in the Waylandsfield estate, new estate, Barrett's.
Yeah.
And it was only last week. I do watch you all occasionally, and it's very, very, you know, it's very interesting. And it came up last week about the employment of street wardens and how they would react. I've heard varying reports that they're good. I understand that Durham haven't thought so much of them and they're not going to go for them. But I also understand it's going to cost us, when I say us, I like to be part of the community, something like £10,000. They're not going to give, in my eyes, an adequate service. They're only going to be here a few hours a week, probably at the right time. They can't be everywhere at once like the police. Anyway, I started to think to myself, well, you know, what's actually happened? What do the police know about this? So this morning, I got onto local police, and I spoke to a very nice young lady, Paula Gillaway, yeah, who's the engagement officer. And I said, do you know anything about this? I'm starting from zero. I've walked down the high road and I've seen people presumably drinking from hidden bottles, etc., and I assume it's alcohol. It does go on in a lot of places. And I said, has anybody actually brought it to your attention? Has anybody made a complaint? And she said, oh, I don't know. She said, but I'll get in contact with somebody and find out what the facts are. Cut a long story short, she's come back to me in an email, and I've got it here, saying that nobody's actually ever reported anything, made an official complaint. So I'm thinking to myself, well, thinking logically, what do you expect the police to do if they don't know about this? There's been no complaints from anybody, no official complaints. And I thought, well, we've got a town council. If everybody's complaining about problems and we know about it, why aren't the town council writing to the police and saying this is happening, that's happening? Do you think you could have a look about it?
Can I interject there?
Sorry.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
The police hold snap meetings, which are safer neighbourhood action
Yes, I understand.
panels, and it was brought up at one of those. It was a few panels back.
Yeah.
And it is the responsibility of the shop owners to report to the police. It's not really the town council.
Okay, I stand correct.
We can tell the police, which we have done,
Yes.
but it's not a report. It
No.
has to be reported.
Right. Well, it hasn't been reported. They've had nothing official. So I started to dig a bit more, and then I understand that nobody's reported this, and I started to dig a bit more, and I thought, well, what happens after the fact? Suppose somebody does report it, who's actually responsible for chasing things up? And then I kept coming back to Brackley Council all the time, in so much what they're involved with. And it seems that a lot of councils have actually had this problem before, and they don't necessarily see it as the person on the street. It's their problem. It's actually an offence that could be committed by the actual retailer who has a licence to sell liquor. And under those terms of selling liquor to individuals, they should ensure that that sale is not abused locally, outside, or anywhere else. And so, in fact, you could say they're committing an offence as well. And it's part of their licence agreement they adhere to this. So who looks after that? Well, it's Brooklyn Council. The other councils have written to these retailers, and I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard to find out who the retailers are in our high street, and just send a warning shot over them and say, do you know this, do you know that? And that could bring it in order. We don't seem to have carried out what we could have done, and yet we're talking about spending another £10,000 on something that probably won't achieve anything in any case.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to have to cut you short because we have to keep.
Okay, anyway,
just a short amount for
that, as a resident,
I'm afraid.
that's my opinion, and that's what I've dug into and found out.
And thank you very much for coming and voicing your opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to speak? Can you bear with me? Right, I need to go on the next agenda. Yeah, but it will have to go on the next agenda, not tonight. In light of the issues on the agenda, would council wish to move items 10 and 11 up now before item 7? Keith? Can, Yeah? Okay, so the proposal is that we move those item agendas up. Are we all agreed on moving the item agendas up? Yeah? Are we then agreed to change the order?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll now go to item 11.
Jill, before we go on, I have got Craig Fowler who's joined Teams meeting and is in the meeting here, hopefully. I'm not sure if he can hear us at the moment though, but he is on my screen. He was going to answer questions if anybody had any, but I think we've also got Breckland officer in the audience as well, just to let you know.
Okay, so item 11 is to reconsider engaging with the Breckland Safer Street Wardens Scheme. Any? Stan?
Sorry, under our standing orders, an item gets returned to council within 6 months if there's new evidence, and that hasn't been made clear. And we've had the councillors who have yet to be named, who are the third who are proposing this be brought back. Firstly, could that be clarified?
Jane?
If 5 councillors write in and request something to come back onto the agenda, then it can be. And yes, we have had 5 write in to ask for that.
Yeah, my question was, who are the 5?
On one show of hands.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Obviously, Councillor Cadell's had another opportunity to present her side. If you're happy then for me to talk. Councillors, as you appreciate, I was supposed this at the last meeting, not against the street wardens per se, but the costs and the stealthy way in which this was brought about. And I stand firm on certain principles, and equally by this being brought back to council has given me the opportunity to dig a lot deeper. And the information I'm going to share with you tonight are facts. They're facts that I've obtained from the Breckland website and from the emails that have been circulated to raise awareness for councillors. Now, this is obviously a very important issue for Breckland because we've got our 3 district councillors here, which is rare in itself. We've got a person, good evening, from Breckland here to answer questions, and we've got the extraordinary situation where we have Craig Fowler in on Teams. So this is clearly important to somebody for something. So I will present, and I've no doubt others want to speak for and against, but if you will indulge me, because it is clearly important to everybody. But before I start, I thank Paul for raising the points he did, and I didn't get opportunity to speak to Paul. I went in his shop looking for this petition that people are hooting and roaring about. I couldn't find a copy of the petition anywhere, so I was a little disappointed. Paul has kindly presented the 18 letters in favour of the street wardens, and I'm just thinking of the other 100-odd traders who haven't sent a letter, so they're clearly troubled by this not. Mr. Dingwell, thank you, sir. He made his point as a resident, which I think we should take incredibly seriously and importantly, and of course impartially. So if I may continue, Madam Chair, that I continue to formally object to the proposal that Watton Town Council contributes to the funding of the Safer Street Warden Scheme as currently presented. This objection is grounded in financial, procedural and evidential concerns and is further supported by the content of the document circulated as part of this proposal. That document that was emailed out on Saturday evening at 7:30, which is when we normally don't ever do business, the document appears to be a recycled presentation originally prepared for Attleborough Town Council, as it still said Attleborough Town Council on the front page, and focuses almost entirely on outcomes in Thetford. Now, my first point is that residents are being asked to pay twice. The Safer Street Warden Scheme is funded by the Police and Crime Commissioner using Home Office Safer Streets Round 5 grant money, with delivery via Breckland District Council. This is by definition part of the policing budget, which residents already fund through their council tax police precept. To ask this town council to now contribute a further £10,000 per year is a duplication of cost. This effectively charges the public twice for a service they reasonably believed was already covered. We now have confirmation from Craig Fowler in an email. That's right. You're right. From Craig Fowler that the PCC's contribution is conditional upon town councils making a financial contribution of their own. In other words, it said, if we do not contribute, and the words were, if we do not contribute, the PCC will offer zero. That is an email that was forwarded from Craig. This makes clear that this is not a fully funded community safety initiative. It is a match funding scheme with strings attached. It places financial pressure on the small councils under the guise of partnership, while shielding the police and district authority from full responsibility. If the Police and Crime Commissioner is only willing to fund community safety where additional top-up payments are made by local councils, then this undermines the purpose of the police precept entirely, and our residents already pay for policing. To tell them now that they must pay again to receive partial, outsourced and unempowered patrol coverage is indefensible. My point two, unacceptable financial risk to Watton is that there are no guarantees of continued external funding. When the PCC/Breckland funds are exhausted, we are almost certain to face an increased demand to pay more to sustain the service. This pattern is well established in such temporary grant-funded schemes. There is no exit strategy, no assurance of a cost cap, and no mitigation of financial risk for Watton, just more money paid out by us. Point three is the misleading presentation of patrol hours and coverage. We are told with emphasis we will receive 30 hours of patrols per week. But this is based on paired patrols, meaning only 15 hours of actual presence in Watton. That 15 hours is further reduced by bank holidays, annual leave and potential sickness. Even with optimistic assumptions, we're talking about a part-time presence for most of the year. More importantly, deployment is based on intelligence-led policing. Again, this is from the Breckland website, meaning that Thetford and Attleborough will continue to receive priority during the evenings and weekends. Watton is more likely to receive patrols midweek during daylight hours, which are the times of lowest demand. Number four is the poorly repurposed presentation of the selective metrics. The document circulated, titled Safer Street Wardens, 5 Market Towns, is clearly dated for the 18th of July and labelled as a presentation to Attleborough Town Council. But I was grateful to receive this on Saturday evening. Nearly all reported outcomes refer specifically to Thetford. Examples include crime reduction and PSPO enforcement statistics relating to Thetford, testimonials from Thetford residents and businesses, claims of 700 hours of foot patrols, confiscation of drinks, and use of defibrillators, none of which relate to Watton. Survey figures and business engagement numbers that are location specific and not evidenced in Watton.
Stan, how long is this going to take?
A couple more pages, but if everyone is going to have their many says, Chair, with respect, I think we should have a council response. Okay. This document has only just been made available with no tailored content for Watton and no supporting service level agreement or proposed in writing. Demonstrates undue haste and a lack of respect for proper scrutiny. It's not appropriate or an appropriate basis for a £10,000 public spending decision. Perhaps the councillor driving this can explain to the council her haste and interest. This is a desperate hard sell by Breckland and one of our district councillors. As Dereham and Swaffham have already declined, we have already declined once, and unless there has been a recent development, Attleborough will still to consider the proposal. They haven't come back to us, but I don't know if they're on board or not. Did Thetford, as the initial town, ever get a choice? As my understanding is they were just assigned SSWs. The proposal reintroduced without transparency or justification. I will move in from that because that will wait. This is a recycled scheme, Madam Chair, being rebranded and pushed back to the table with the same unanswered questions as before. But this is important, Madam Chair. The licence enforcement and antisocial behaviour are not Town Council duties. They are established legal mechanisms under the Licensing Act 2003 and the 4 licensing objectives that place responsibility for disorder and antisocial behaviour squarely on the licence holders and the licensing authority. If pubs are experiencing regular disturbances, the designated premises supervisor and licence holder are responsible and may be required to employ SIA registered staff. If high street off licences are contributing to the street drinking, the District Council licensing team has power to review, restrict or revoke licences. So this we haven't seen from our district councillors, and we haven't seen the pubs taking their part by looking at their own security. Madam Chair, I can stop, but Councillor Evan will continue if I stop. It's up to you. Operational concerns, the visibility over value. Breckland Safer Street Wardens are not accredited under the Community Safety Accreditation Scheme and have no legal authority to issue fixed penalties, detain individuals or enforce the law. They are not police officers and cannot act in any enforcement capacity beyond seizing alcohol in PSPO areas and then contacting the police. In volatile or unpredictable situations, these individuals are more likely to become passive witnesses or victims themselves than effective responders. To rely on them in such contexts is not only impractical, but raises safeguarding concerns. Had they been accredited under CSAS, then Breckland would have obviously made this known as a major selling point, as it would give the SSWs greater powers. Almost done, Madam Chair. The lack of community mandate. The community has not been properly consulted on this scheme, nor has it ever been made clear to residents that the Town Council would be expected to contribute financially. Informal conversations suggest that public support assumes that this is a police service and therefore funded. Once made aware of the additional cost, support appears to diminish quickly. There has been no formal engagement exercise to determine whether residents support spending additional Town Council funds this way. Finally, Madam Chair, an honest, factual and accurate presentation that includes all costings and costing forecasts with realistic pros and cons would have given this proposal a better chance of consideration. For all the reasons above, I object in the strongest terms to the proposal that Watton Town Council contributes financially to the Safer Street Warden scheme as currently presented, and I would ask Council to consider all of the facts before voting. This is a retrospective attempt to revive a previously rejected initiative. It has been supported with recycled material from other towns, contains selective and irrelevant data, lacks any written service level agreement and presents questionable value. It seeks to treat the symptoms and not the causes, and asks this council to fund responsibilities that sit properly with the police, licensing officers and the licence holders. If Breckland District Council believes the scheme is worthwhile, then it should be funded centrally and transparently, not sold back to parishes as a part-time solution with full-time costs. There is an adage, be careful what you wish for. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I think we actually now need to get maybe some comments from Craig and from a lady from Breckland. Would you like to come up? Do that, Robin. You people. Have we got any joy?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think we need to start. Yeah.
So I can answer a few of those. The first one I wanted to come to was the accreditation scheme. You're right, they're not, but they do have powers. They can issue fixed penalty notices. They can issue community protection notices. Pretty much anything that the council is able to issue under the Antisocial Behaviour Crime and Policing Act of 2014 and the Environmental Protection Act of 1990, they are authorised to do all of those. The presentation that you were given, I can only apologise to that. You were given that first, so it was originally yours. The information is the same, so I assume that is why it's been used. But as far as the wardens, yes, they did start in Thetford. It was all part of the Safer Streets Fund, as you pointed out there. And Thetford was picked based on the stats at that time. As of April, they were given the choice. They did decide that they saw the benefits in the Safer Street Wardens, and they actually fought to keep those. They wrote to the PCC, they wrote to us, they were very keen to keep them in place. The wardens have been around and they've engaged with every single business within the Watton Town High Street. They were very well received within the High Street. They did a few patrols a while back, and 4 visits they carried out in total over Watton. During that, they confiscated 12 drinks as part of the PSPO. They would have moved over to enforcement, but they weren't. We're obviously looking at warnings and then before they actually move into enforcement, so they weren't at that stage. They noticed that there was people on bikes that were dismounting because they saw the uniform. So even without their enforcement powers, they do still make a massive impact within any town that they go into. I know there was a couple more that you were looking for there. 15 hours you mentioned. I don't know if Craig's back on. Does he want to address any of the financial?
But in those surveys, again, we just done the surveys. 94% of residents agreed or strongly agreed that they feel safer since the introduction of Safer Street Wardens. 86% of businesses said their staff felt safer. 56% of businesses had also seen a reduction in crime. And I think also when we went out, or when the Safer Street Wardens went out in Watton, that there was quite a lot from public houses saying, thanks, we've got people that are drinking outside the premises, not necessarily from our premises. And we had members of the public saying, look, we don't see people here, we didn't think people cared, and that they were really grateful. So I think, we can only go on that. I think the comments on, the samples were great, but on the issue of the comment about the match funding and Police and Crime Commissioner and Bracken Council, of course this is match funding, so the cost of a Safer Street Warden is around about 41,000. So we're asking for a match funding contribution, but of course if you don't make the contribution, the funding will be zero because it's a match fund. So what the email was saying was, yes, it is match funded. It's about 41,000 is the cost. That's that cost of employment. We have body cams. We have radios which are linked into the control room. We've obviously got, they are Brackland employees, so we have all of the own costs of training, insurance, clothing, mileage claims, all of that. So there's on costs on top, it was part of that figure. But hopefully that just explains that the match funding is obviously a match, and if you don't put your 1,000 in, then the funding will be zero. So police are not going to, or Police and Crime Commissioner are not going to give money or fund it if it's not matched. So that was the comments. As Amy said, they are empowered to enforce. They do issue fixed penalty notice. They can issue criminal protection warning notice. and criminal protection notices, which again, if people don't comply with those, that can result in a court order, and that can result in criminal behaviour orders. So they can get restrictive orders, and they're also empowered to do littering and sort of environmental crime offences as well.
Can I ask a question?
So, I don't know if there's any specific questions, but I don't know if that helps or not. But if there's any specific questions there, I think there was also a comment about licensed premises, and it's the responsibility of Breckland, the responsibility of the business. Well, yes, it is, but they can only enforce around their premises and where they're there. So if they sell alcohol and they go half a mile away, and they're sitting on a bench causing antisocial behaviour, the business can't really control that, and that is some sort of safe street wardens will, as Amy said, they will confiscate and they will engage as well. So I think the difficulty is, yes, you are correct in the comment, is that yes, licence holders are, but generally people move away from the premises, and there's general street drinking and general, which is difficult to pinpoint to a particular premises.
I have a query, Craig,
Yes.
about the 30/15 hours, because they patrol in pairs, which is understandable. If one is off, then the other will be off. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. At the moment, we are looking at obviously if all the towns come in, then we will obviously increase. We have 2 secondary ones at the moment. You are correct. If people are on, somebody's on leave, etc., or sick, that does limit some of the activity. They can do certain things alone, but obviously for safety point of view. But I suppose what I would say to a minute we have to do, I think there was mention of Attleborough. I don't think it's a secret. Attleborough are considering it at the moment, and Watton are considering it. So if you did come in, obviously those 2 wardens, we would look at additional wardens as well. So that would mean that wouldn't be so much of an issue because we'd have them on rota.
Okay, my other concern is
so we've got to rely on 2 officers.
My other concern is the timings of the patrols. It's already been put that Thetford has been noted as a priority for evenings and weekends, and we're likely to maybe just get them daytimes.
And we would target them basically to where there's the greatest need, really. So no, you wouldn't be at the detriment. Sorry, I didn't quite hear the wording, but the detriment to Thetford. We would deploy them, and there would be evenings and some weekends. So you wouldn't be if the question was the poor relation of Thetford. No, that wouldn't be the case. And we would work with you as the town council. That the street wardens would be. They'd have a weekly presence. They wouldn't be coming in. They'd be talking to you. Where's the local intelligence? Where's the issue? Where's the best times? And we would endeavour to employ them as much as we could at those times.
Would we get a notification of what their forthcoming rota was?
Yeah, I can't see an issue with that. Yeah, there's usually what we do is a monthly rota, and we set it a month ahead. So yeah, we'd be quite happy to share the rotas, which I think we did with Thetford as well, so they know when they'll be on duty and when they're around.
Okay, thank you, Craig. I'm going to open it now. Don.
When we had the presentation a few months ago and the actual street wardens came here, we were told that there was Home Office money put in to run this scheme, and whether we actually contributed or not, there would be a certain amount of coverage from the street wardens. So is that still the case?
I think that is. We want that a few weeks in the week. There could be a small amount of knowledge of the way that the decision can't really decide how many.
Andy's frozen. Anyone else?
I'm not saying in response to myself, so if I might respond to that, very quick. Yeah, Amy, is it? Amy, thank you. when you're talking earlier, you said that Breckland consulted every business in the high street on this. Yeah. You're a business owner in the high street. Did you get consulted? Okay. Mark, did Breckland come and visit you in your shop? Did someone come and consult you about the street wardens? Thank you, Madam Chair, that's all.
Thank you. I've heard everything everyone's got to say. While we've been talking, I've had 2 emails come through. Sorry, I've asked the mayor. No, I've just listened to what.
Excuse me, other people will get the opportunity.
I'm just saying
Tina, we
what.
can't
No, I'm just
consider
want to update.
emails. We can't, they're not on the
Okay.
agenda.
Right, well, all I'll say is I want a recorded vote, please, on this. And the one thing I will say is that we are looking at the reasons not to have them, not the reasons to have them. And the reasons to have them is for our town's safety and security, and to make our elderly and young people feel safer, especially in this current climate.
Thank you. I did notice we're not actually in public participation, but Paul, you did put your hand up. Is there something you'd like to say? Okay, thank you, Paul. Keith.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Tricky one. I voted against street wardens because I don't think we should be paying for what the police should be doing. I have thought long and hard, and having heard things and spoke to people, it is with a heavy heart that I say I think we should give it a try. And I say it is with a heavy heart because I do not believe it is our job to pay extra on top of what we pay for the police. However, there is a perception of things in the town. Some of them are true, some of them may not be true about the state of things. And my opinion now is that we should give it a try. We do not have to, how long do we have to sign up for is one question. Is it a year and see how it goes? If it is, then I think that could be £10,000 well spent. If we're signing up for 10 years, then I think it is another matter. But I am now of the opinion that we should at least try it. There was a lot of hoo-ha when we had the PPSOs, as they were called, toy policemen. But they did have a presence, and I engaged with them on the certain matters, and they were very helpful. So maybe the street wardens are of the same ability, same ilk, and maybe they can make a difference in the town, because we do have problems, like every other town in this country has.
Okay, thank you.
We are not unique in this, so maybe we should give it a try.
Thank you. Before I come to Tina, I'd just like to say that the final date for joining this scheme is the 19th of September. The scheme, we've been told, will now run until the 26th of June next year. It's not guaranteed to go on after that. We're not obliged to carry on with it after that if it does go on. Had we joined when it was first offered, we would be getting a bonus. At the moment, my understanding is it's still 10,000. It's not prorated down for the remaining time. Craig, could you clarify that?
yeah, is up until the 31st of March. So there is a bit of a window. So yeah, so yes, basically what you're saying is correct. Unfortunately, the delay in making a decision all sort of impacts the end date. I think if you, I think I can't commit physical sign off, but I think we're saying to the end of June. I think we could probably look, for a month or two. We could probably look at that, but I can't guarantee I will need political sign off. I can't make that decision myself, but I can understand what you're saying, and I think we will do all we can to try to. It's difficult for me to say, but there are other funding. There are irons in the fire with regard to future funding. So, but obviously I can't. All we've got funding for at the minute, all we can say to you is guaranteed to the end of June. But there are other funding irons in the fire, and it could well be that we could get some future funding, so we could help you with extending that. But I can't obviously guarantee that because we haven't got the funding yet.
But we are, for clarity,
all I can say to you is that yes, we would look favourably at that, and if we can help you by a month or two, we would do that.
Okay, for clarity, if we were to join the scheme, we would definitely have patrols until the end of June.
Sorry, was that a question to me? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
If we were to join, just for clarity, we would definitely have patrols until the end of June 26.
Yes, you would get patrols to the end of June 26, and then we would look on future funding. You may get, if we did July, if we said we did 12 months the end of August, you may get lesser hours of a patrol, but we would try to give you something back for your full 12 months, is what I'm saying. But they should get.
Okay,
but
thank
you. Definitely get your hours until the end of June, and then if we can get that future funding, then that would help for a full 12 months until the end of August.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Tina, you were next.
Right. First, to answer that gentleman as well. Most of you know I had previously a business, and I was one of the few cafes in Watton selling alcohol. And it's not because I was selling alcohol that I was agreeing, for example, if anyone was drinking outside. Another situation is because, for example, I saw it, and this was like just 3 days ago, Tesco literally refused to sell 2 bottles of wine to an adult person because he was with a youngster one, and they knew that that alcohol was for him and that he was going to drink outside of Tesco. And is Tesco responsible for that situation? Probably, all of us anyway. So yes, I was one of the persons to ask for this to be put back because I think when you had the decision, I wasn't here in the first place. Obviously, I should be. Another situation that I think we did it on the past as well. Important decisions, we shouldn't take it if most of us, they are not on this table. Because we all represent the town, not just 2 or 3, for example. And if we are not all here, it's for a reason, and important things, they shouldn't be decided on that way. They should be passed on for a different meeting where everybody, or most of us, at least most of half of us, are in. And yes, I think we should have a go. It's not something that, like Keith just said, if it's something that we need to go over and over again, but we can do a trial and see if it works or not. And if for any reason, like it was said, some towns, they are not agreed to do it. So that means if they get more obvious officers, then they will have more time for the towns who they actually want them. So I'm in favor of that.
Thank you, Tina. Jack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, I would just like to ask a couple of questions regarding this, and I would like to respond formally after that point. Unfortunately, I'm hearing a lot of hearsay. Everything that's coming from the facts side doesn't feel like it's very factual based at all. When we're asking questions, will we have this? Maybe, not sure. We've got ambiguous timeframes. It raises the question of, is this actually a truly thought out process at Breckland that's being snowballed down? I understand that we all prioritise safety in the area we support. That's why we pay precepts to the police and, fire and everything like that, and the council tax. But realistically, we've got to look at modern society nowadays. We see that these enforcement people in Manchester, London, they have no real power on the street. People don't have to engage with them. They have no power of detainment. You can just walk. They can't physically stop you to get your information. Yeah, a presence is great. But what we're not hearing is confirmation of, okay, you've got your, say, 30 hours a week. But if someone's off sick, then we won't send someone else. So what happens to them lost hours? Do we suddenly accrue at the end of the year and end up with 2 months worth of surplus of hours that need to be fulfilled? What happens to when there's other emergencies in other towns? To me, it just feels more like Thetford needed some form of extra support, and the smaller towns and parishes around are going to help foot the bill for the payroll, because we're not getting any concrete assurances that Watton is going to get the support in the time it needs it. Now, obviously, if we could have flexibility with these hours, it was in the evenings, weekends, problem times where we know this happens, that would be great. But antisocial behaviour isn't just drinking in the street. It's also takeaway drivers parking on the double yellow lines, coming off the traffic lights and not moving their vehicles and causing backlogs. That's antisocial behaviour, So some of the businesses are also contributing towards this antisocial behaviour, but it's just not drinking or, urinating in the street. We all have a part to play in society. People have got businesses to run, people run them remotely, people run them from a premise. But to me, I just feel like this is only on the high street. Now, I know we call it like the safer neighbourhood plans and everything, however we jazz it up. But does antisocial behaviour only happen on the high street, or does it happen off the high street in surrounding areas? Does it happen at different times? If these patrols are well mapped out, we was all young once, let's be real. What time's antisocial behaviour going to move to? Antisocial behaviour is happening on Lidl's, where you've got teenagers climbing on the roof. It's happening at the Tedder Centre, where you've got kids climbing on roofs. That's antisocial behaviour. Now, that is directly affecting residents because it's causing their life hell. So you are hearing residents complain about that, looking at the safety element. And to me, although I'm all for safer high streets, neighbourhoods, and I've got children in the area, I want my children to grow up and live in a nice, safe environment. But I just feel like this is a sort of front for just basically protecting businesses with additional footfall and security, where some of them would have that ability to help fund their own ways as well. Like Tesco's, for instance, has security.
Doesn't.
Not all of them, but in theory, they should do. And some of the private businesses have to take accountability for this as well, that although we look at the character of the individual who's committing the offence or the antisocial behaviour, it's not a reflection on the business. Businesses will equally know who repeat offenders are and have some form of moral obligation to those around them, and they do have it within their rights to refuse custom to them individuals. And that is a prerogative that the businesses can take themselves to help address the issue. My main concern is that we have no concrete facts on who we're going to get as replacements, and if it was genuinely for the best interests of the town, wouldn't the scheme provide more wardens that are available in these peak times with this precept? Me personally, I'm probably one of the only people in this room that will ever say this, I'd rather see an increase in my council tax to fund more local police that actually have power and are a deterrent, that can be called to a multitude of different elements around the town, not just on the high street. Realistically, when it comes to enforcement and fines, that's great. It's a deterrent. Doesn't stop people speeding. That's a deterrent. People will still commit that behaviour if they feel that they can get away with it. Then who does the fines go to? So if it goes back to Breckland, why can't them recycled funds go into funding this and making it a self-sustaining process, which would be more palatable for everyone that is already paying the tax to fund their security in the area? And I just feel that there's not been enough answers based on this information to make a sound decision on that, to commit to it. It's £10,000. It's not even for a year. And we've got no concrete guarantee that if someone's off sick, someone's on annual leave, we're going to have cover.
Okay, let's ask Craig that question.
Thank you.
Craig, we've just been discussing if someone's off sick, What does happen to those hours? It's frozen again. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Amy?
So just in addition to that, I work as part of the operational partnership team. So I work very closely with the police, I work very closely with wardens and various other partners that all come into that bubble. We are constantly looking at the reports, the statistics, where are our hotspots. So although we may say 1 week, actually they're going to do a Friday night in Loch Neaton and walk up, for instance, make sure that they go to those benches. It might be that the next week we're getting lots and lots of reports at the memorial benches over there. So, we'll move them. We do the rota a month in advance so that they know what they're doing. But as far as their hotspot areas, they are always changing. We do look at demands, we do look at what's coming into us, and we do make sure that we talk to our partners, including town council and our councillors, because the people that know that best are all of you. So just because we have said that we're looking at the high street, that doesn't mean that that's where it stays. We focus on the high street because that's where the public spaces protection order is, and that's where it makes sense to start our process, because that's where we will get most engagement. As soon as they have had that engagement, then we can start moving out a bit.
If we did agree to it, when would the scheme start?
I believe he was looking in September. That's probably something that he needs to agree, but I don't know if Craig can answer that one.
Thank you, Amy. Did Craig hear that? If we did join the scheme, when would it start? Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you very much. So that didn't really answer my questions in full, because what I'm still hearing is we would need to recruit, we would need to get the people to do that. So there is no guarantee that although this would be in place in September, we would have that cover. We know that we've got to recruit people in, which could take 2 to 3 months. You've got to understand the nature of the role. Like police, there will be injuries, people will become unwell. You know, these things will happen. You know, you're tackling antisocial behaviour, and it's an untested role in a large scale. You know, we don't know the effectiveness of this, and realistically, by the time the scheme gets up and running, we could be coming to an end. And if we're expected to pay £10,000 on the premise that we may have cover when it's recruited in, well, surely the scheme should be up and running with adequate resources before we go live, and then can consider it in full, where we could weigh what options we would have for cover. We would need to know what availability we've got and when. I mean, realistically, judging by the information that was presented earlier from Brian Dingle, resident, we need to look at the basis that, well, the police are claiming that they've not had true complaints about this. So actually, have the police been given an opportunity to try and deal with this matter and tackle it? Is that something that we should be doing first? Should we be raising this, saying we've been told that there is antisocial behaviour, people are claiming it in? So that requires an investigation, and surely at Breckland they should be looking at local resources when and the police planning should come into play when we're looking at the available resources in this area. From what we have at the moment, it's like a part-time police officer who tends to only be available at town events, and you know, realistically, we need people on the beat walking around. We are a growing town, we have concerns, and realistically, when we're looking at the cost of £40,000 for an individual, is that not too far away from a police officer anyway when it comes to funding on an annual basis? So
it is for two.
That's for two part-time people. Realistically, I would rather have one full-time police officer who's actually got the power, who's going to be there for a set amount of hours a week on that basis. That's my opinion. You know, someone that if you call is actually going to come and deal with the problem. Realistically, we have to look at the way the world is now. Everyone from teenager upwards is a lawyer. They know their rights better than probably most of us in this room. And they know that they don't have to stop, they don't have to talk, they don't have to identify. What powers do you have if you can't get that information from someone? How do you enforce? That is my question. Can anyone answer that? Is it really going to be a deterrent?
Sometimes a visual deterrent.
A visual deterrent, granted. But a community speed deterrents, do people still go through them at high speed?
Okay,
You know,
thank you. Craig, I believe you wanted to speak. We're going to have to start wrapping this up shortly. Jack, would you like to pose your question again?
Yeah, so there was a few questions there as part of that. So essentially, we've got no guarantee of the cover. So we need, before we can make an informed decision, we need to know that there are adequate resources in play to cover this for, because it's public safety. You need to have a public safety provision that knows that you've got enough resources to be able to support that under contract, let alone you'd need to be able to provide the resources. So we've got that point, which is where we have no cast iron guarantee with the actual resources that are at play. And we also need to know what rights that, like, how are these going to guarantee some form of level of enforcement and deterrent above and beyond what people would perceive anyway. It's a visual deterrent. I personally don't believe it will have a marked effect.
Could we have the question rather than a...
That is. We've had a whataboutery, haven't we? We've asked direct questions on this and we're getting no answers back solid.
Okay.
So I'm trying to pose it in a way which maybe we might get an answer.
Thank you, Craig. Don?
Just bringing it in sort of like a bit of reality, that we voted on this a while ago with the information that we had. I haven't heard anything new tonight that would make me change my mind, but we haven't budgeted £10,000. If we do, that money's going to have to come from somewhere, and it will have to come out of reserves and things like that, and then the money will have to go back into reserve. So it does mean the preset for next year or the year after. I'm not saying it wouldn't have gone up anyway, but it will have to go up considerably more to cover that.
Okay, thank you. I think we also need to consider that the would have, could have, should have element as regards the police. We would like a permanent police presence, obviously. I dare say every town would. It's not going to happen because the police resources are stretched beyond belief. Police are being sent out of county to deal with things, not even within county. So as regards, we would like another full-time policeman. That's, yeah, we've got a wish list for that. That's my personal view. Sarah?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to avoid duplication, so I'm going to proceed my view. I think if some of our councillors feel that we're not receiving the service from the police, then surely we should be inviting the Chief Constable to explain what our residents are paying their preset for. Why should our town pay for something they should already have? And what difference will two people 15 hours a week, if they're well, make to our town? Maybe the money would be better going to Norfolk Constabulary to pay for another police officer. So it seems to me that most of the problems we're experiencing in Watton are down to alcohol abuse. But it's Breckland's licensing team that can sort that one out. We don't need to pay somebody else to do that for them. They've got the powers to do that. So I agree with everything that you say, Jack, so thank you for that. Also, we need to report this antisocial behaviour. You know, if you see it, Paul, you see outside your shop, phone the police, make a complaint so they can do something about it. Maybe we should get some proper signage up to say no drinking on the benches in foreign languages so that everybody knows, not just English. Maybe we should consider getting CCTV. You know, there's lots of other things we can do without spending £10,000 that we haven't budgeted for, like you say, Don.
Right, thank you, Sarah. Tina, and then we'll go to a vote.
The licensing team at Breckland are very, very small. They can give out licenses for pavement licenses, DPSs and the like, and licensed premises, but they can't enforce. They don't have the manpower to go out and enforce as we need on the streets. And they're not a deterrent. And I do strongly believe that the Safer Street Wardens are the deterrent needed for that loophole. But yeah, just in answer to that, the licensing team do not come out at 9, 10 o'clock at night to see if anyone's drinking outside the Transylvanian or the other shop. And I think, Sarah, in answer, your shop was shut when the wardens were out that day, so they wouldn't have gone
business
round.
in this town.
Yeah,
And nobody came to me.
they only went in
Well,
the
on your
shops.
point, it's pointless because Safer Street Wardens will not be coming into our town in the high street at 9, 10 o'clock at night.
He said they did.
Okay, right.
Schrager said
So
they
we
did.
need to draw a line under that, and we'll now go to a vote.
Recorded though.
Jane?
Recorded vote, I will go round in alphabetical order. So please, if you say whether you're for, against, or whether you wish to abstain. Is that okay with everybody?
We have the resolution read out, please.
Someone will need to put a proposal first, obviously.
Okay, do we have a proposer for?
I propose we have the Safer Street and go in with the Safer Street Warden scheme.
Do we have a second? Tina? Sorry? Yeah.
Madam Chair, my counter proposal is that there is clearly a divide in the appreciation of this. I would concede that we could see how the other towns, all these other towns that sign up, and that we could perhaps revisit this in the spring when there's likelihood for us to get 12 months service for the 10 grand. and this is something we could perhaps look at then, but look at the evidence and experience of the other towns rather than be part of an experiment ourselves. Let us learn from the other towns' experiments. I would concede that if you were to vote against this tonight, that we could look at revisiting this in 6 or 8 months' time.
We're actually voting on it now, though, Stan.
Yeah, well, the
I do not accept the counter proposal tomorrow.
Okay, so can we have those in favour? Oh, sorry.
I didn't accept the proposal. I think it is. If it.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Take the first proposal, whether we
Yeah.
are going with the scheme.
Okay, right. Yes, so Jane, you'll go round.
Let's call order. So it's Tina Cruz,
No, Tina's.
We're voting.
Voting for or against?
Keith, Stan,
Yes.
Sue, Sarah, Thomas, Tina,
For.
Graham, Don,
No, Graham.
Jill,
Sorry, hang on. I've lost count. Was Graham for?
against.
Next.
Don was against. Jill,
I'm going to hold my vote.
and Jack. Six against and 3 for.
Okay. That's not carried then. Now we'll go on to what was item 10, removal of the benches outside of Watton Adcock's. Oh, sorry. To revisit the safer street wardens in the spring. Okay. Right, sorry about that. Consider removal of the benches outside Adcock's. Don?
After listening to the discussion at the previous meeting, I did speak to Mark, and I spoke to some of the staff in Paul's shop and 1 or 2 other people, and there was a problem with people congregating, and some drinking, some not, but there was a lot of foul language, and I've heard it as well, sort of thing. And I think a while ago, we talked about revamping that whole area around the town side. I just think this might be the opportunity now to take those 2 benches away, plan what we want to do, and then look at where we resite the things. It certainly worked when we did the ones up by the Weybridge. We took the bench away and moved it somewhere else, and those problems have disappeared, haven't they? So,
Do you think it would be an idea to have a plan in place before we actually remove them?
well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Paul feels about it. Would that help? No. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. We need to stop and carry on. Sue.
Yeah, all I was going to say is I can understand wanting to take those benches away, but there's a nice brick thing that they're just going to sit on that instead. So until we've got a plan, I don't think there's any point in taking those benches. You've also got to allow for the fact that there are a lot of people that walk up and down the high street, but they will sit on those benches during the day because they need to sit there before they carry on their journeys. And if we take those benches away, everybody's going to then be culminating around the bus stops, and I don't know that we want to encourage that.
Tina?
The fact that we're even talking about removing benches due to antisocial behaviour says something and says more than anything else we could say here now. So I'm saying nothing. I think that says it all.
Right. Don. Oh, sorry, Keith.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think we may be looking at this from the wrong angle. People sit on benches for different reasons. I think we should be saying, thinking, if the bench wasn't there and we were looking to put benches in the high street, would we put one there? Is it the right place to put a bench? Forget about the fact that you don't like the people who sit on them. That is not the right way to go about things, I think. To say, I don't like the people who sit on that bench, let's take it away, is discriminatory, no matter who's sitting on it. Some people sit on benches and sit and chat. Other people sit on there and drink, and this is what we have. So what I'm saying is, let's look at it from the point, would we put a bench there if we were looking to put benches somewhere?
Okay, thank you. I am mindful of the time, and we do still have a lot of other items on the agenda. So just one more, Jack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mine's very short. I'm a firm believer in we shouldn't be removing seating areas in the public. We're trying to encourage people to use the high street, and then taking away seating areas, especially where people are less mobile, and they like to sit down, congregate. I agree with what Keith was saying. I think we can't just remove them because some people ruin it for a few. You're taking away local amenities which are used by hundreds of people a week on a regular basis just for the small minority. I don't agree that it's an antisocial, solely related issue. I do believe that more people benefit from them benches than abuse it. But realistically, I do feel that we should have a plan in place before deciding with removal.
Okay, Don, do you want to make a
No, I'm happy to
maybe we can discuss
drop it. Yeah, that's
another
fine.
time
I
of
can see
plan.
there's no support.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 12, to consider whole council training. No, Don's taken. I'll take it back. Thank you. Thank you. Jane, could you elaborate on item 12? Oh, sorry, finance, item 7, finance.
Payment list has gone round. To add to that, the audit fee is 1,638. That's not on your list. And there has been a request from the Community Projects Officer for £200 to put towards the community events day at the Charlotte Harvey Trust building, and that would come from our Town Council community budget. So that's just an ask, please.
Yeah. To consider paying invoice of £250 for preparation and execution of VJ Day event at Loch Neaton. I actually want to say something on that. I understood that it was going to cost about £100.
We had the invoice through, so we were unsure. That's why it's gone on the agenda.
Is it itemised? Yeah. Sorry, I think Don was first there.
All I was going to say is, could we defer it until the finance meeting and then discuss it, and then we can come back, because we don't really know what we're looking at or talking about.
Okay,
We can bring it back to the next meeting with that.
Yeah. All right, Jane, can we ask for a breakdown and bring that back to after the next finance meeting? Is everybody agreed on that? Yeah, okay, thank you. 7.2, to note draft minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on the 14th of the 8th, 25. We've all had those, yes? 8, update on devolution and local government reorganisation. Okay, thank you, Jane. Item 9, to note market working group notes from the meeting held on the 13th of the 8th, 25. And we've all had those, yes? Okay, right. Back to item 12, to consider whole council training.
Just to sort of reiterate what is in your pack, we have gone to the two providers really that are out there, and that's Norfolk ALC, which is the first option, or Norfolk PTS. So really, if we want to go with this, they're the choices. Over to you. It's you. No. Yeah, be rich.
I just want to bring one thing that we have got, due to antisocial behaviour and the way the world is at the moment. I'm sorry to bang on about it, but we've had an email from Paula Gillelli actually offering from the Susie Lamprew Trust anti-harassment and bystander training for growing national conversation around what the public can do to increase women's safety. People and organisations want to take steps to be able to address the prevalence of unwanted and aggressive behaviours such as harassment that unduly under the broader circle of violence against women and girls. And I have the details, it's free of charge, and I have the details of it here, so that might be something to Jane.
Yeah, I
send
have
it to
had
Jane.
it. It hasn't gone out yet, but I will.
And we'll
came in a few minutes before the meeting.
Look at that. Okay, Stan.
Yeah, on the whole council training, Madam Chair, I've nothing to add. The clerk, I think, covered it. But only that I would urge every single councillor, you come along to the meetings, you learn. You don't learn very much. I'd respectfully say to all of you, to get the best out of taking part in the council and to get a greater understanding of procedures and protocols, do take up the offer of any training that is offered. Thank you.
Are we looking at, we did this once before, having a whole council
Was suggestion
training up
to get
here?
a trainer in to present to everybody. We asked for a Tuesday evening specifically because we thought that would be best, but I'm not sure we will get that. It will be more when they are available. Obviously, evening's preferable, but it is just whether you have a preference for which training provider you'd want to go with.
Okay.
Can I just reiterate what Stan said? I mean, some people think, oh, I've been a councillor for many years, I know it all. You don't. I've been on this council for over 40 years. I'm still picking up things, learning things. I remember a time when Breckland had a very good member training regime, but the majority of the cabinet members had never had any training at all. So that shook a lot of us. So there is, even if you think you know something, you may not know that little bit extra. So my advice is to anybody, grab as much training as you can.
Thank you, Tina.
When I started, I did do one training and it was really, really good. I will be happy to do it again. Yeah.
Okay, so do we have a proposer for whole council training? Stan, seconder? Jack? Those in favour? Okay, unanimous.
want us to go with whatever we can sort of sign up to, if you like, but on a...
Could you liaise with Stan as HR? That's probably the most. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay, we're agreed on that. Item 13, to elect another member to the HR committee.
I'll speak briefly on that, Madam Chair. Councillors, colleagues, as chair of the HR, the current panel, in effect, well, we are all entitled to be on that committee. Currently, it's myself and Don, with Keith, who unfortunately his health prevents him from attending as often as he could. Sue is the reserve member. Now, if we find ourselves in a situation where Sue has to come in and Don isn't available, it's extremely unhealthy that myself and my fellow councillor, who happens to be my wife, are making any decisions. It would be much, much better and much more transparent and healthy if we had additional members. Now, the more the merrier. You do not have to be an HR specialist. You need to be a person with peripheral skills, peripheral views on life, and an appreciation to accept advice from those who are qualified, such as HR consultants and lawyers. I would thoroughly recommend it. The downside is we do meet on a weekday, but we do get through that meeting quicker than we tend to get through council meetings. So I can't be blamed for all of them. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So do we have anybody that would like to join the HR committee? That looks like a yes. Yeah, okay. All in favour, carried. Can I also take this opportunity to mention the fireworks and festive market also need volunteers. The festive market will need somebody to run the tombola stall this year because they'll be otherwise engaged. So have a think about it, but it's coming up quicker than we would like. And volunteers at all events are always welcome. Thomas?
I just wanted to add that I'm also away on the Christmas market, but I'm happy to help out with the Christmas market with other things that aren't the raffle.
Raffle ticket sticking.
Madam Chair, could that tombolarist be a non-councillor, i.e. a partner or spouse of a councillor?
Yes.
Excellent. Pat Warwick it is then.
You're marvellous, yeah. Thank you. Sorry, I did just add that in. Probably shouldn't have. Item 14, planning. To consult on planning applications received since the last meeting. Keith. So,
sorry, can I just, I haven't had a chance to look at the actual planning because I couldn't get it up on the system. You say child minding, but this is saying it's a nursery. So is it a big enough property for a nursery?
It is a very large detached property.
So it is
at
a
the end of
detached
Brisbane
property.
Road.
It's not going to have neighbours on the side saying
No,
they can hear the children.
no, it is quite a large property.
So, Jack.
Once again, I haven't been able to see the planning side either, but has there been any oppositions from anyone around the property?
I don't know. I haven't looked into that, but myself.
So do we as a council have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to local people to put in their representations, you know, for or against. So, but it's what we think as members. And as I say, being a substitute member of the planning committee, I will not comment in open session because I could be accused of predetermination.
Okay, so do we have any objections to it? No? Okay. 15.1. Sorry, 15. To pass a resolution to exclude the press and public to consider confidential matters. So members of the public, I'm